Hey guys, so I got a question on a video yesterday, and my little baby sis friend Marina on Reddit sent me kind of a long thing yesterday about something that she was concerned about, and they're kind of similar to each other, so I wanted to make a video about it. And I don't have the definitive answer to this, but I can tell you what happened with me in this situation. You can hear that and decide if it somehow applies to you. Maybe it'll shift your perception a little bit about your own situation. But so comment one was basically, I'm happy with myself where I am right now. Like, I feel really good, but you know, when it comes to the idea of getting into a relationship with somebody, I feel like, you know, I feel nervous, like my body issues that I don't have as a single person kind of arise again, or I think this is what the comment said. If I'm misquoting you, I'm sorry. I could be projecting myself onto this. You know, in relation to another person or getting into a relationship, like I start getting nervous about it. And then on Reddit, my friend on Reddit was saying, you know, I'm really happy. I'm mid-20s. I live with my parents and I have all this disposable income and I'm happy with my living situation. Like, I don't want to get my own place. I like, you know, I'm just going to be over here hanging out every day anyway. And really the only reason that I feel like, you know, I feel like I have to go be independent or have that being independent means having my own place, and that basically, like, no, you know, I'm gonna have a hard time finding the relationship I want until I'm ready to go be independent. So like, independence means this 3D reality, and until I get this 3D reality, then I can't get this thing that I want. So like, we make up these ideas about how things have to happen, and sometimes they're right, and sometimes it's just a big, like, house of cards. But in both of these situations, you know, I was saying to the person that didn't want to go out and like get their own place, that if, you know, if that's something that you feel like you could do, like if you can do that, like I think actually having the independence and the ability to do that is probably important. But if you could afford to do that and you just don't want to, and emotionally you could handle living alone but you just don't want to, then, you know, then it just becomes about doing something that conforms to some idea that somebody else probably put in your head. So in that case, you know, I don't think that's really important. And then for the person with the body image question, this is more, you know, my personal experience relates to that. So here's what happened with this. It also applies to like feeling like you have to move out or any other thing where it's like, I'm happy, but there's this thing I feel I have to do or be in order to be attractive to somebody else. And sometimes you do need to do something and sometimes you don't. So here's where I think you don't, and how this applies to my own personal experience with the body image stuff. In the beginning of 2020, you know, I was exactly where this commenter about the body issues was. I was happy. I was making this YouTube channel. Everything was like really good. I knew I was going to find the right relationship, so I wasn't worried about that. But I kept having this question come up that I knew wasn't congruent with being in the right frame of mind mentally about myself. So this question just kept coming up and I didn't have an answer for it. It was basically, you know, I am really not perfect physically, and is that going to be okay for somebody else? And just kind of feeling like, you know, this is like a negative about me. And, you know, can someone really be attracted to me like this? And by the way, like, I mean, this is a little out there. I don't really have any big body issues, but it still came up for me like this, you know, because like my stomach's not perfect from having weighed more. And like, you know, the freaking genetic legacy of my family is these freaking flabby armpits where even when you're like skinny as fuck, you have these like armpit blobs that come over the side of your tank top. I almost went and got liposuction for that a few years ago. That's how bad it got for me, like in my mind. I got skinny and then I like have these like fat armpits and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go get them liposucted. Thank God I didn't do that. But, you know, I still felt like, can I really expect somebody to be attracted? Like, is somebody gonna be able to get past like my armpit roll? Is somebody gonna be able to get past like the stretch marks on my stomach? You know, is someone gonna be able to get over it if I can't just like get down to 105? If it just like, you know, if if I just continue to be in the body I'm in right now, these questions, it wasn't like fully articulated the way I just did. It was just kind of this like feeling like maybe I'm still not good enough for somebody else. I'm good enough for me, but and here's the thing. So in your mind, like when you don't know how the manifestation is going to come about, what you don't know what is going to end up fulfilling that desire, it just kind of gets auto filled in by default with whatever garbage you've already been like experiencing in your life. Of course we all have a reason for thinking these things. We've met judgmental pricks who, have these ideas about how you should be or how things should be. And we experienced that before we knew better, to know that those people are suffering inside their own little prison, right? They have an idea of the way things have to be, and they're experiencing that every single day of their lives applied to themselves. Anyway, so we experienced that stuff, and then that sort of fills in the unknown. And here's the thing, and this is the realization that changed it all for me. And this is also, by the way, how you get propelled forward towards a thing you want. You just sometimes get an insight out of nowhere. You're just sitting there, and all of a sudden something pops into your head. And what popped into my head was, well, what if these things that I see as a negative about myself are actually a positive for somebody? So this little insight pops into my head, and then my rational brain took over and started coming up with 10,000 ways that could be the case. The person who is just right for me has some sort of physical thing that they are unhappy about. Like they also have something where they feel that way. We come together, we understand each other, it's perfect. I meet somebody who also just lost a bunch of weight or something and has a similar issue where they feel like, hey, I look pretty good, but man, I got like this, there's this little telltale sign, this thing that reveals that, I had this issue, like my inner thighs are flabby or, something like that. I'm just like, okay, it had never occurred to me that maybe I would be a better match with somebody who understood this stuff. It just didn't occur to me. I kept thinking that, I was going to meet this guy that was going to, judge all this stuff, and that was somehow going to be the right guy for me. Like what? I think the hardest thing to wrap your mind around with the manifestation stuff is this idea of the odds, or like scarcity, like, well, this is how the majority of people are. So really, if I want this thing, I'm going to have to fit into what the majority of people, in my perception, think is acceptable, when it really doesn't work like that. Somehow the things that are just totally against the odds happen. It just does. Nobody really knows how. And that's about the best I can say about, that. You find the thing that's totally against the odds, and then it's in your life, and then you sit there going, how the hell did this happen? But so basically how that ended up working out for me was I met Matt, who is just like the most accepting person. Like, I have never felt 1 second of judgment from him about anything with me physically. From like the day we met, he was like, listen, I know you don't understand, but I'm just never going to care about your weight. I just don't care about that. I've never felt like he wasn't physically attracted to me. He's never ever been like judgy in any way about anything. Like even over the last year and a half, I went through an incredibly chaotic period of time where my dad got cancer and died, and I had to take care of him far, far away from where I live while trying to run a business from 1,000 miles away. I went through this insane period of time that I managed to get through without doing any kind of emotional eating or anything that would make me gain weight. But it was like suddenly when it was over, that's where I hit this point where I was just like shell shocked. And I gained like over about 3 months, I gained about 20 pounds. And like, he is well aware of all these issues I have with weight, and I was freaking out the whole time. Like literally, I have to stop this. I have to stop this. Like every day I was just like totally resisting what was happening. And I still never, he would patiently sit there through this shit. And then when I would go do the very thing that was fueling this, when I was perpetuating this cycle of freaking out by engaging in the behavior that was causing it, he never judged anything. Like literally, there was never a moment, ever. I've never once felt judged by him at all about anything. Did I already say this in this video? He lost about 75 pounds not long before we met. He's 6'5", so that doesn't mean quite the same thing as it does for me at 5'3". So, you know, I had a much bigger weight loss. It was a much bigger body transformation than he just kind of like gained weight and then lost it. But I think also, you know, that helped because he had just kind of like gone through a big behavior change and mental change and all that to drop that much. You know, dropping that much weight is not easy for anybody. It just doesn't affect your body as much, I don't think, when you're super tall, because it's such a, you know, whatever. His body's perfect, mine's not, whatever. Oh well. But like, it turned out that the person that was right for me was different mentally than somebody who would judge me for, you know, it was my own sort of inability to open my mind fully to all of the possibilities that are out there. I still had this idea that, you know, every man is looking for this certain type of woman, and the fact that I'm not perfect is really just a big downer for like any guy. You know, it's just not the case. I don't even know if that's the case for most guys, but that's how it played out for me. I just had this sort of download one day that, you know, maybe this isn't actually a bad thing. You know, maybe me not being perfect will actually be comforting for someone else, because I'm pretty fucking impressive in a lot of other areas of my life. Maybe I need to have this like sort of flawed area in order to just be a human that like somebody could relate to. I just started kind of coming up with all of these ways that my assessment was wrong. And so it's the same thing for like my friend on Reddit who is living at home and enjoying it and doesn't really want to like move out and is afraid that somebody is going to see it as a downside. There are lots and lots of ways that arrangement could be perfect for somebody. Who knows? Or why that would be something that would work for somebody, that would be a plus for somebody instead of, you know, some kind of downer. I don't know. There's a lot of ways that the thing that you think is a flaw in relation to another person could actually be the opposite of that, something that makes you perfect for that person. And only you know the difference. Only you know if the thing about you is really a flaw that you need to correct, or is something that you just have to stop thinking, you know, is going to necessarily matter to someone else. And really what it comes down to is it a flaw to you? You know, if you're fine with it, you don't need to change it for somebody else. Almost, you know, in almost any case. I'm not sure if there are any exceptions to that. If there are, they're few. So, I don't know. I hope that helped somebody. You know, when you get to a point where you're really good with yourself, it gets challenging, I think, then when you reintroduce, you know, a primary partner or somebody close that is going to have an influence, that it gets mentally a little tricky, you know, because it doesn't come down to, oh, I'm a queen and I'm going to be worshipped and blah, blah. You know, that's not real life. That's just, I don't know, that's just like YouTube channel, online SP course crap. You know, real relationships are going to be a two-way street, and the interplay definitely gets interesting. The more the more you get into the self-concept stuff and you realize how people play off of each other, that's where this really gets. I think that's kind of like the next level stuff. But in my mind, getting to the point where you're really happy and good with who you are is definitely like the first graduation from the 3D before you start getting into, you know, stuff that's less about the material. So I hope that helps somebody. Have a great day.